Alright, y'all. I'm not going to be doing another drawing video, but the reason why you're staring at a blank page is because for this week I really have nothing to draw. I was going to address one thing, but this is going to be a 2-for-1 special. First off, I want to address the new social media quote-unquote challenge going around about, the whole ice cream thing of licking the ice cream and putting it back. Putting the container back in the freezer at the store. That is frickin' disgusting and illegal. Y'all, you need to stop doing that. In fact, anything where you're spoiling food, that's not a good thing to do. Now, if you're going to do something out of the ordinary, I understand the whole thing of, you want your 15 minutes of fame, but, there's ways to do it without causing contamination. And, who wants to eat food after someone else has licked it? Ugh! Anyway, if you guys are going to do something with food, I propose a new challenge called the Sticker Challenge. Go and buy some kids' stickers, sparkly or something, tiny stickers. And, from Amazon or another store, open the package of stickers after you've bought it and go to the grocery store. And, any food that's wrapped in, plastic or in a container, peel off one tiny sticker when nobody's looking and put that little sticker on it, only one, put it back and then walk away. Something like that, the food is not contaminated, and, nobody can get sick off that. Now, the other thing is, y'all are way too sensitive. Not my viewers, but, people in most of society. There was a popular TV show that people didn't like the ending of, and the latest thing that I thought had died, but I went on Google this morning and it had not died, which is the whole thing about an actress, the actress that's going to be playing Ariel in the live-action Little Mermaid movie. Now, on a side note, I really don't care what Disney does with their movies. The House of Mouse, what the material they put out ain't my business. And, a lot of people the argument, which I disagree with, is saying that people won't remember the original Ariel or this, that, and the other thing. Y'all, your argument is invalid, and it's a proven fact that what's going to happen is that both versions of Ariel are going to be equally liked. This isn't the first time Disney has done this. In fact, let me take y'all on a mental journey. Now, this was before I was born, before my parents were born, but let's talk about another movie, Cinderella, and I promise you this is going to tie into The Little Mermaid. 1950, Disney releases their movie, Cinderella, a movie which later on has become an animated timeless classic. Now, generationally, people watched The Little Mermaid, starting from 1950s. When I was a kid, I saw the animated version of The Little Mermaid. I'm sorry, not The Little Mermaid, Cinderella. Sorry, got those two movies mixed up for a minute. Got Little Mermaid on the brain, and I and I gotta focus on Cinderella right now. Okay, let me start over. 1950, Disney released their animated movie Cinderella. Cinderella became a classic, would go on to become a timeless classic. You know, multi-generationally recognized, different, no matter what generation you live in, the animated classic Cinderella, you're either familiar with it, it's your favorite movie, it was your favorite movie when you were a kid, or, you've seen it. Anyway, about a little over 40 years later, 1997, Disney released the very first live-action remake of Cinderella, of their 1950 animated movie, Cinderella. Now, 1997, the very first live-action remake of Cinderella, Disney hired a lady, cast a lady, a young black lady named Brandy, as the title role of Cinderella. Guess what happened? People watched it. I watched it when it was on when they put the movie on TV, and even though Cinderella was never my favorite movie, all I gotta say is both versions of the movie were good, the animated and the first live action. Guess what happened in 1997? Nobody got upset over it. Everybody accepted it. There's people that liked it and said, hey, it's a really good movie. Now, go back in time again. I believe it was 1987 or 1989. Disney releases The Little Mermaid. Again, The Little Mermaid, just like Cinderella, has become a timeless classic. Or it's well on its way to becoming a timeless classic. Fast forward to 2019, this year. Walt Disney World is making their very first live-action remake of The Little Mermaid, casting a young actress named Halle Bailey. I thought it was Halle Berry for a minute, but apparently that news source was a typo. Now, what I believe is going to happen with The Little Mermaid, and the reason why I brought up the story about Cinderella is, y'all, I think what's going to happen is a repeat of what happened with Cinderella, where both versions of Cinderella were liked, and both were, both are equally timeless classics, with the live-action one being, well on its way to being as equally cherished of a classic as the original 1950 animated version was. I think what's going to happen, or with The Little Mermaid, is I think it's going to be a repeat of what happened with Cinderella, where, both versions were equally liked. And y'all that are upset over The Little Mermaid and Disney's choice for the actress that's going to be playing Ariel, y'all need to go back and look at what happened with Cinderella. Because I believe that the way things are looking, it's going to be a repeat of what happened with Cinderella. The same thing is going to happen with The Little Mermaid. And for the parents out there that are upset that their children are not, or concerned that their children are not going to be familiar with the original Ariel, well, y'all, here's a suggestion. Why don't you do to your kids what my parents did to me when I was a kid? mainly my dad, who was in charge of the movies that I watched when I was a little kid. My mom was too busy to really do anything about that, but she would agree with my dad. Well, why don't you guys do to your children what my dad did to me? My dad showed me let me watch the animated version of Cinderella and, all the Disney princesses, but whenever the live action version and remake of Cinderella was on TV, Dad and I would sit down and watch it together. And, I grew up exposed to both versions of Cinderella. And parents, why don't you do the same thing that my dad did to me with your children with Ariel? Expose your children to both the animated movies and when the live action version comes out, the live action movie as well. But in conclusion, y'all need to stop licking the ice cream in the stores. Come up with a new challenge that's different enough and outside of the social norm without being illegal. And y'all need to cool it about Walt Disney World's choice, or Disney's choice, for the actress that's going to be playing Ariel. And if you're that upset over it, y'all need to go back and do your research and realize that it's just history repeating itself. And that the same thing is going to happen to Ariel that happened with Cinderella. Both versions are going to be equally liked. And as far as TV and movies in general, y'all need to stop being so sensitive about it. If you don't like the way a movie was done, talk about it on social media, but don't go petitioning the director to rewrite the entire movie to fit the way you wanted that movie to go.